So I have some plants in my landscape that need some staking right now. So I thought I'd show you some of the ways that I stake my plants, either in the beginning of the season or after the fact, like right now. So the first thing that I like to do if I know that a plant is going to need staking is to preemptively stake it in the spring. So what I use for those are these hoops that you can buy. I think I got these at Ocean State Job Law or a place like that. I think you can also buy them on Amazon, but these are little hoops and they come with 3 stakes to put into the ground. And basically you would just set this flat into the ground and then your plants can grow through these little grid lines. These ones are just a little bit more flexible because it's just a wide hoop opening and you don't have to be so careful about where your plants are going to come up. So I use these quite a bit. I also have ones that aren't a full circle, but they're about a half circle. So just half this circle with probably 2 or 3 stakes in them. And they can be used like in the front of a border to kind of hold plants back from spilling over into the border. So I love those too. So I would recommend grabbing these or the half circle ones. And they're really, really great if you're expecting to have to stake something in the spring. Like I know I have to stake my zinnias, usually my coneflower to keep them upright. And in the spring, that's what I'll do is I'll put them so that my plants will grow right into this hoop. And I'll show you an example of that in 1 second. Okay, so here are some coneflowers next to my arbor here. And these were staked early in the season and you can barely see the hoop, but let me just kind of push in here and you'll be able to see this green part here. This is that hoop, that same hoop that I just used. So what I did was I put this in early in the spring and my coneflower stems just grew up inside of that and it's really holding them back. So you can see if I back up a little bit, there's some here that I didn't stake and you can see how they're kind of falling out, but these are nice and upright. And because they're green and the foliage grew over them, you can't even tell that they were there. So that's a great option if you're in the situation where you're in spring and you know that you're going to have to stake something. But I'm sure that you're also aware that there's situations where you realize later that you have to stake. So I'm going to show you what I'll do in those cases next. Okay, so these are my go-to tools for staking plants later in the season when they're starting to grow and you're realizing they're falling over and you have to get them back upright. So the first thing I use, if it's just a flower like a zinnia or something, even a perennial plant that isn't very big, I'll just use bamboo stakes. So these are bamboo stakes. You can get them in different sizes. These are 4 feet in height. And oftentimes I'll cut them to fit the height of the plant so that they're not sticking out above the plant. But basically you just take this stake, see this is one that's cut, you stick it in the ground and then I'll use a twine or a rope of some kind to tie the plant up. And I'll show you this in a second. This rope that I have, I'm going to link to it in the description below. It's amazing because it's green so it blends in with your plants and it's also a bit stretchy. So I really like the stretch to it because it allows the plant to kind of move the way that it wants to without it being so tight. But if you don't have this, twine is absolutely fine. I use twine quite a bit. So don't be worried about using twine either, but I'll leave a link to this because I just love it and it's lasted me a really long time and I can even reuse it from year to year if I can get it untied at the end of the season. So the first one that I'm going to be doing is just the zinnia. So I'll show you that. And then I also have a larger perennial plant that is big and it needs a little bit more staking than that. It needs a little bit more to hold it up. So in that case, I use these metal rods that are from deer fencing. So they have a stake thing at the bottom. So you just kind of hit them in and I have a mallet. So I'll bang the mallet in and I usually position one on either side of the plant, get them in near the root, not too close to the root, but near the sides of the plant. And then I'll use this rope or some kind of twine to kind of try to wrap around the plant to get it to stay upright. And I'll show you that one too. So first let's go and we'll do the zinnia first because that's the easiest one. And then I'll show you how I'm going to do a perennial sunflower over here. Okay, so here's a tall zinnia. It's called Bernery's Giant Lime, I believe is the variety. And apologies for the sun. These are full sun plants and it's the middle of the day. So there's a little bit of a sun glare. I'm sorry about that. But basically, we're just going to put a stake right near the root of this plant. and then tie around this entire plant so that it doesn't start tipping over. And for that, I have my bamboo stake that I showed you earlier, and we're just going to stick this in. I like to put them near the back so that they're less visible. I'm just going to show you this in the front, even though I normally put them in the back, just for the purposes of this video so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm just going to push this in near the root of the plant and try to get it in so that it's going to be a support for this plant. So you want to make sure that it gets into the ground just a little bit. You might have to push around if you have a lot of rocks like I do. You may have to push around a little bit until you find a spot. And then here it is, it's in there. So the next thing I'm going to do is grab this twine. And this is the magic trick that I'm going to show you for tying up your plants. So what you do to connect it to this post is you create a loop like so that the front of the twine is in the front of the loop, and then just create the same exact shape, just like that, so that the string coming out is in the front. And then you're going to take these two pieces and just cross them like that, right? That's all you do. So a single loop and then another loop, and then put them over top of each other. And then you put this right over top of your stake, like so, and then you just pull. So when you pull, it tightens onto the stake. Now I'm going to wrap this whole plant as much as I can and try to keep it loose if you can. My rope is a little too short, so instead of doing that, so you could do that same double loop again at the end, but since my rope is a little bit too short for this plant, I'm just going to tie a double knot. And I love this twine again because it's kind of a rubbery material, so when you do tie a double knot, it does stay really well. So that's really all there is to that. And let me just show you what this looks like. Okay, so here we have the staked plant right here, and you can see that the stake is right here in the center. Now, like I said, if I was doing this in my garden without showing it on video, I would put that stake in the back so it's less easy to see, and it's kind of hidden by the foliage of the plant, and then that green rope just really blends right in. So that's how you would stake a simple plant. That loop knot I think is called a hitch or a double hitch or something like that. I'll leave it in the description below or put it up on the screen when I find the name of it. Okay, this next plant here is a bit of a bear. It's a perennial native sunflower, and you can see that all of the yellow is part of the same plant. So it's even spilling out all the way over this way and this way. It's a big plant, and you can see if I kind of go in here, you'll be able to see really how splayed it is in the center. So what I want to do is stake it and pull it upright so that it's kind of more together instead of just falling. Because right now, I don't know if I can get you to see this, but it's falling into my walkway here. So I kind of have to duck to get through. So I just want to stake it so that it has a little bit of support and that it's out of the way. And I'm going to use those deer fencing stakes for this because it is such a big plant. I'm going to put two of them in, one on either side. And I'm going to wrap it with twine or rope if I have enough of that rope. So here I'm just taking those deer fencing stakes and I'm hammering them in with my mallet. I put one on one side and then I went on to the other one and I put it on the other side. Then I just took the twine that I had earlier and I tied a double knot into it and connected it to that first stake. And I just sort of pulled the plant up and wrapped around just like the zinnia, the same exact thing. When I got to the other side of the plant, I wrapped it around that other stake really quickly and then kept going to the front of the plant, and then I just tied everything together. This is about 3x speed. Okay, so now you can see the perennial sunflower is staked upright, And all I did was put those 2 pieces in. I wrapped the twine around that, and I just kind of gathered the plant up and I made it more upright. Now you can definitely see right now, you can see the stake here and you can see it here. I don't really mind that. This is a beneficial plant. It's really great for wildlife. I want them to be able to enjoy it. I just also want to be able to enjoy my garden and be able to walk down my path. So this gives me the best of both worlds, where this plant is upright, it's available for wildlife, and it's also out of my way. And it's beautiful too, isn't this beautiful? So here you can see now my pathway that it once was really in the way of right here. It's totally out of the way now, and it's upright and it looks beautiful. And instead of tumbling over, it's adding a lot of height to my garden, which I love as well. So those are 3 of my favorite ways to stake up plants. The first one is preemptively in the spring, and the other 2 are ways to stake up smaller plants and larger plants in your garden. If you like this video, I'm sure you're going to like this one that's on the screen right now, so check that one out next, and I'll see you over in that next video.